Welcome back to Onondaga Fieldhouse. I'm Chuck Jaffe calling the action now between the NOAFE team and the LAXAllStars house team. NOAFE, the non-orbital athletes from Earth. That's what NOAFE stands for. Non-orbital athletes from Earth, although it can stand for anything. And the LAXAllStars team wearing the jerseys of the Syracuse Bombers. That's one of the rival hockey teams in the movie Slapshot. If you're looking and thinking I'm getting every name wrong, it's because the name on the back of every jersey is Oglethorpe, as in Ogie Oglethorpe, if you remember the movie Slapshot. If you don't remember the movie Slapshot, you may just be confused the whole time. So that ball skips out of bounds. And here comes the house team. Brendan Duggan with the ball. Now kicks it out. So again, a little confusing even for us, as you know, Jules Henneberg, number 3. Everybody has the Oglethorpe name on the back. That one shot wide by Cam Ellenson. Henneberg can't come up with a loose ball. Chuck Ross does. Ross ahead, and he scores. Chuck Ross out of Union College scored a goal in the last game, which for NOAFE was a 7-4 win over the Cattail Kings. And he breaks the seal here as well. Ross, who plays some box lacrosse in the Boston Box Lacrosse League. He plays for Primetime. One of the players on the LAXAllStars team, Ryan Conwell, plays for the Minutemen. Nice face-off win by Justin Teleso. Teleso dishes it back. Sean Menz over to Uri Bar-David. Bar-David, an interesting story. He scored, when he scored playing on field lacrosse in Netanya, Israel at the FIL World Championships, he became the first player from Israel, born in Israel, to score in the World Championship. So he's a kid who, as the game developed, he was a local in the Tel Aviv area who started playing. He is not playing for the Gold Star Tel Aviv team here, although he obviously knows all of those guys. That one just eludes Aiden Cummins. Headmanned now over to Joe Donovan. Sorry, Joe Donian. And Drew Lazar gets that back over. Nice save there. Donian with the shot. So here's Henneberg. Henneberg is a name you should recognize. And he would clearly be the bell cow on this team. Now, if you were wondering why that was allowed as the player from NOAFE kicked it back, Isaac Bach, it's that the ball was in the crease. So you can't kick it from outside the crease, can't tip it back in. If you direct the ball back to your goalie, that would be a legal procedure. But because the ball was in the crease, he's allowed to just give it to the goalie at that point, which is what he was doing. Fed in front, off the post. So off the post on that shot from Nate Jobson. But it will stay with NOAFE. Jobson's shot there is wide. 18 on the shot clock. And over and back will be called. Giving the ball over to the LASNAI team, Ferris Berg. Now, the problem when you have a house team is not that you can't have good players, but even good players have to learn how to play with each other, and that's especially true in box lacrosse. There's a nice feed in front, and they pay it off. Cam Ellenson cashes in the nifty feed from the outside. So just as I was saying, you need to develop the teamwork, and when you haven't played together, it's tough to do. We wind up seeing that feed. Matt Keys with that feed inside to Ellenson. Ellenson goes back to work to take the draw. And he moves early, which will give the ball back to Teleso and Israel and NOAFE. A lot of games, a lot of names. Tough to keep it all straight, and tougher still working without a wingman on these games. That shot from the outside by Donian. Scooped up, headman pass. Allenson can't come up with it. Did force the goalie to have to play it. So now Isaac Bach with the ball. Bar David. Over to Sean Menz. So they get a reset. Here's Bar David with the ball. That shot would not have counted as the 30-second shot clock was expiring, and they said had expired before he took it. So we're tied at 1, and the LaxAllStars team moves the ball into the offensive zone. Chuck Ross, who has the 1 goal for NOAFE. Non-orbital athletes from Earth. And now Chuck Ross has 2 as he scoops up the loose ball and falling down, manages to get off a shot that somehow gets through and makes our score 2-1. So a bit of a surprise there. And Orange was not ready for the ensuing faceoff. So NOAFE goes back on the attack. Teleso kicks that ball up to Jobson. Fed in front, nifty little inside move, and the finish there. And I cannot tell you who scored that goal. It's number 26, who is not on our roster. And that does happen here. We have a lot of rosters were set in games yesterday, and players were still arriving last night and today. And so a team that says, oh, our roster is the same from last night, and you say, okay, well, I've got last night's roster. They then show up with someone new. That was Alex Siegel with the ball, who brought it forward. Siegel, if you watched the last game for NOAFE, had to change helmets. Gone back to his Israeli field helmet. So NOAFE with the 3-1 lead, the waning shot clock. And by the way, that roster problem is not just unique. Like I said, it's happening in a lot of cases. Nice save there. Brendan Duggan gets robbed by Tristan Jotun, the NOAFE goalie. And Ross trickles it by, and Ross has a hat trick. 3 goals for Chuck Ross, the Union College product. So they make it 4-1 NOAFE with 5 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Teleso pushes that ball forward where Lazar comes away with it. So now it's Jobson getting the ball over to Menz. Teleso, and he scores. Justin Telesso. Nice inside move, a little ball movement, and gets his feet going. Comes across the crease, the face of the goal, and sticks that one to make it 5-1. And again, the problem with a house team is that when you haven't played together, it is very difficult to know how to play together. And that may sound like, you know, it's box lacrosse. It's the same game you've been playing. But when you don't know what a guy is doing, that goes a long way. So we've got a slash call that's going to be against Henningsen. Quite honestly, I don't understand that call. Yes, he did get slashed, but there was no advantage gained or disadvantage created. He came up with the ball and did the right things with it. Loose ball behind as that shot missed the net. Behind the back shot, gets a new shot clock. Show of good sportsmanship there as Lazar had been going after the loose ball. So Henneberg is in the box. But again, and this tournament is being used as a training ground for refs. The problem there is that, yes, by the book, that was a foul. But at high levels of the game, that shouldn't have been a call. There was no advantage gained and no disadvantage created. And no pain inflicted because the guys are wearing pads here. Oh, that could have been, and it will be, an interference call. So if they can keep this away, Lazar kicks it over. NOAFE comes away with possession. So we wind up with a penalty, and right now, if you want to take your time and let most of this penalty time expire, because Henneberg's going to be able to come out in 5 seconds here. So Henneberg is released. And he can now go to the man up and does just that. So Henneberg, an extremely skilled player, but again, you can have them, and there are guys on this LaxAllStars team who have the skills, but it is hard when you haven't played together. It's hard when you haven't been built as a team. For example, that shot by Henneberg there stopped nicely by Jotun. But there they were on man up. Nice play by Henneberg. That's a yard sale. That is a full yard sale for Sean Huggins. He gets everything back, but he will long remember that check as stick and everything went flying. But here we are again, and if you're watching this, that's Ellenson playing on the left-hand side, even though he's right-handed. Nice save there, rebound in front, another good save for Jotun. First it was Henneberg, then it was Nick Midbow. Can't crack the wall. Here's Ross, little behind-the-back feed that goes errant. Ball kicks out to Bar David. We're at even strength at this point. A nice stand-up check there. Ferrisberg was able to stop it from crossing the line, keeping possession. Keys with the ball, dishes that one. Keys gets it back in front, tries to kind of shovel it towards the net. Can't get it there. Fed ahead. Shot wide. Lazar with the ball. Scored a couple of goals in their last game, that win against the Cattail Kings. And scores one here. Drew Lazar adds to the lead, makes it 6-1 as we get to halftime. So we'll take a break with the players. your score here at Onondaga Fieldhouse at the half. It is NOAFE, the non-orbital athletes from Earth, leading the Syracuse Bulldogs. No, they're the LaxAllStars team dressed as the Syracuse Bulldogs, leading 6-1. We'll be back in just a moment. Back to the action at Onondaga Fieldhouse. 6-1 in favor of the non-orbital astronauts. I think I called them the non-orbital athletes. They are the non-orbital astronauts from Earth. And that mistake, purely mine. You can be unhappy that you don't have a roster number or something along those lines, but you get the name wrong and you have it, it's purely on you. And they are the non-orbital astronauts from Earth. Good effort there from Brendan Duggan, but he can't put the ball in the frame. Low angle twister shot there from Aiden Cummins. Can't get by Tristan Jotun. Bar David now with the ball. Fed in front, and there's a goal. I would love to tell you who scored that one, but that's also not on our roster. Again, players changing, and I can tell you that that player was not on the floor in the previous game that they played. And so when you have a situation like this where you've got a house team and it's guys that have not played together, and especially in box, more so than it would be in a field lacrosse situation, it's hard for that team to gel because if one guy doesn't know what he's doing, you know, for example, a very simple box lacrosse defense is called the wall. Alex Siegel goes through that collision, comes away from it okay. And now fast break going the other way. Unable to get the ball in the frame is Brandon Fitzgerald. Nice break though, Fitzgerald gets the ball back. Matt Keys gives it back. That's Ellenson who scored the goal. Those two connected on the goal. Now they've connected on a play that's going to get them a man advantage. So Lazar winds up in the box. Oh, it's 8 and not 88. Earlier, they wanted to give one of Charlie Ross's goals to number 88. Now they wanted to give him one of the penalties. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 8 and 88 both. So it is a two-man advantage. So here's another side where you've got a house team. What can they do? You don't want to play 5-on-3. You want this man to give the ball and now stay up high, get away, and not be involved in the play. Do a box and simply have a box. There's Henneberg playing the left. So here's Keys with the ball. Tries to feed it in front. Allenson can't grab it. Nice check, gets the ball out. And it comes away. Fed in front. Nice piece for Jotun to keep that ball out of the net. It's a good hustle from the LaxAllStars team. Keep this ball live. So Henneberg picks it up. There's still 5-on-3. Seconds left. Nice piece there by Jotun. And it's a release penalty. So Ryan Conwell gave that ball over to Henneberg. Henneberg with it, all even. Conwell shot from the wrong side. Righty on the left-hand side. Shot goes wide, not a play. Gives the ball back to the non-orbital astronauts from Earth. Leading 7-1. Now 8-1. As that's Sean Menz with the blast from the outside. Sliding that past Ryan Murphy, who has replaced John McMillan in the net. I shouldn't say replaced. They're splitting halves, so it's not like one was pulled for the other. They were always going to play a half each. Teleso comes away with the ball. Kicking around in the corner. Conwell can't come up with it. Keeps it live, however. Oh, big hit there. So fresh 30 shot clock. Conwell with it. Dishes that back. Keys can't put it on the frame. And it's a jailbreak. Murphy gets that save. Still a jailbreak. This is part of the problem with a team of guys that haven't played together and don't necessarily know each other. How much sacrifice do you make? So, for example, when we talk about not having, you're new, you haven't necessarily communicated, you don't know how other guys communicate. And there's a blast from the outside for Ori Ben David. Quite honestly, that shot should be stopped by goalies at this level. But now it's 9-1 with 8 minutes and 18 seconds left. So, for example, in box lacrosse, one of the most effective defenses you can use is called the wall. And the wall basically involves, if the ball's off to one side, the players who are on that side are on the ball and on the guy, and the backside guys create a wall. So they're able to play a bit of a zone. They're able to help out. And you want to be basically in a straight line, a wall, lined up with the back post. So it's the three defenders furthest from the ball. And the problem is that if you get one guy out of position, nice save there by Jotun, robbing Brandon Fitzgerald Fitzgerald's still playing very hard in spite of the way this game is turning out. He comes away, dishes the ball over, heads to the bench, but he had created a turnover. So in any case, you've got this what can be a very effective defense, but one guy gets out of position and it falls completely apart. So even teams that are good that use it have to use it a bunch of times before it actually works. You put together a house team and you're basically left saying, okay, well, we'll only play man-to-man. We'll talk through our switches as best we can, but that's hard to learn. So, shot clock violation. Tony Calabrese brings the ball up, gives it off to Chuck Ross. And now, Nate Jobson with the ball. Tries to feed that down low. Henneberg steals it. He's 1-on-2, so he's not going to the net. Gets the man coming out the door, but there's no discernible advantage. And then they lose the ball, and now it's 2-on-none. Fitzgerald gives chase. Murphy with the save. He got a piece, and the post got a piece. Kept it out of the net either way. And you might wonder, in box lacrosse, the goalie gets credit when you hit the post. In field lacrosse, typically, they do not give credit to the goalie when the ball hits the post. But in box, they do. And there's a goal from the outside. Matt Keys gets that one past Tristan Joten. I've been calling him Tristan Joten. You know what? That word says John. Tristan John. I apologize to Tristan John's family for having his name wrong. And then to get it right when he's given up a goal, because he's played very well. He's got a 9-2 lead with 5 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. So 9-2 our score. Telesco gets stripped. Nice defensive play there. Ferris Berg. Ball still stays with NOAFE. And we have a hold. That also against Ferrisburg. So fed back high. And a snipe from the outside. It's Joe Donian. Little stick fake. Give himself a little more space. He's a time and room shooter. Had plenty of time, had plenty of room. Able to put that past Ryan Murphy. Under 4 minutes remaining in regulation. Our score now 10-2 in favor of NOAFE. Not many answers for the LaxAllStars team. Ellenson takes a shot wide, pays the price for it, but they say he was in the crease, not pushed in. Alex Siegel brings the ball forward. He's 1-on-2, but he takes it anyway. Murphy with a nice save there. Siegel kind of signals the bench like, my bad. And now he has to run back and play defense. However, what the LaxAllStars team did not need, that headman pass doesn't connect, becomes a quick turnover. Ball still being contested in the corner. And Siegel gets called for that push. Siegel heads over, takes a seat in the box, but had done the sportsmanlike thing and help out, so he gets the push. So it's a man advantage for the LaxAllStars house team. Nick Midbow starts things off up high. It's Midbow, and he misses that pass. Henneberg can't corral it, and Lazar is off to the races. Man down, and hits the post with it. Now they can kill more of the clock. And they will. Oh, and I did not notice that they had actually given Siegel a 3-minute, so he had a major penalty. So there was no reset. The clock had reset, but there was no reset, so gives the ball back to the LaxAllStars team. But they had too many guys on the field. They threw it to a guy who was subbing in. So the next minute of their penalty time is going to be given away because they have to send a player to the box. Brendan Duggan does that. So now we are 4-on-4 for the next minute, and then it'll be another minute of man advantage, roughly a minute of man advantage. Except there's not that much time in the game. Slowed down. And then taken away. Ross with the ball. And the non-orbital astronauts from Earth call a timeout. I'm not sure why they called a timeout. Winning with an 8-goal lead, calling a timeout, and it seemed that the timeout was called indeed by NOAFE. Makes no sense to me. Really aren't trying to do a whole lot from this point. So we're back to the action here. .4 seconds remaining in regulation. Don't understand what could possibly be taking the refs this long to put this ball back in play or what that timeout was called for, but it does allow us to see this happen, and that no call. Fitzgerald with the big hit. So that was entertaining and worth watching. Shot wide by Calabrese. Oh, and now they send Fitzgerald with 31 seconds remaining. So it's 4-on-3 for the remaining 30 seconds, or most of it. Now it's 4-on-4 because the first penalty is released. First penalty is released so that first penalty is released. And they're busy talking and not sending anybody to go do it. So don't really need to, because after all, NOAFE is not actually attacking. So in spite of what could have been all the other stuff that was done, there's no action at the end. And that brings us to the end of a 10-2 game. Your final score here from Onondaga Fieldhouse, it's the non-orbital astronauts from Earth. NOAFE, 10. The LaxAllStars house team, dressed as the Syracuse Bombers, 2. I'm Chuck Jaffe. Thanks for watching the LaxAllStars North American Invitational. There's much more LASNAI action to come all day, finishing tonight with the Pros and Joes game from Onondaga Arena. Stay tuned. We've got more to come, and we'll be back with the next game in about 15 minutes.